Welcome to the Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership Podcast. Subscribe now so you don't miss a drop of straight talk you can't get anywhere else. We discuss the whiskeys to drink, music to listen to, and what it really takes to be an effective leader. I'm your host, Galen Bingham, the leadership strategist. Tonight's guest, international trainer, speaker, and leadership coach, Dr. David Banks. Hey, what you drinking? It needs you to, right? It's not even a competition because I need for Dr. David Banks to be amazing at those 5 questions, that the purpose code. I need you to be amazing because that only supports what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. You know, and I've got to be on my A game because at some point I'm going to hand this baton to Dr. David Banks. And if I've given up ground, you know, I'm going to make you look worse than what you would have if you had done it by yourself. I don't ever want to be irrelevant. And if I don't live up to my abilities, I might be irrelevant for what you've got to do. And so we need each other.
We do, my brother. We do, because those 5 questions that you have, my friend, I just see how that is so needed as well. Because I think we in the field, because definitely in counseling, you ask questions, but they ain't really paying you, not for you to ask questions. They paying for you. They want to ask the question and you get the answers.
Yeah.
But we in the space where we got to ask questions because self-discovery is the biggest discovery you want. You don't want people to, well, I'm doing this just because Galen thinks it's a great idea. I'm doing this because Dr. Banks said, no, that's not going to work. But helping you, asking you those questions. And when you get the revelation from those answers and you execute them, my friend, hey.
It means a whole lot more. It means a whole lot more.
It does. It does.
I usually tell my clients pretty early in the engagement, because to your point, they're expecting, you know, they'll look at my background, they'll look at the companies I worked for and the work that I've done, and they're like, okay, well, this guy can help me solve problems. But I usually tell them in the beginning, you know, my job is to help you articulate what you already know you need to do, and then help you find the courage to take the steps that you already know you need to take. It's not my job to tell you what to do because I barely got my own life figured out. Right. So you know, I can barely, navigate this thing for myself. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but oh my gosh, I love this conversation and the perspective that you're bringing. Okay, man, I've gone so out of order because I've enjoyed the conversation so much. But let me back up, because I usually ask this question towards the beginning, to set the framework of the rest of the talk. But I'm going to come back to it. And here it is. I think you are an ideal person to help me articulate the meaning behind the name of the show. Because whiskey, jazz, and leadership, you know, I like all 3. And so it made sense to bring them all together. I also like the metaphor. The metaphor of whiskey is doing what you enjoy with the folks you enjoy it with, irregardless of what others might think about this thing that you're doing. They're not part of your crew, so they really don't have a vote on this thing that you're doing with your crew. That's whiskey. The metaphor of jazz for me is, how do you get from where you are to where you need to be, even in situations where there's no sheet music in front of you? You still have to figure it out. You've got to be on time. You got to be in key. You might as well make it sound good because you're in it. But even if you don't have sheet music, I heard a quote. I don't even know who said this, but just the other day they said, "Circumstance does not relieve you of responsibility." Circumstance does not relieve you of responsibility. You still have to make this thing happen. And for me, that's jazz. And then leadership keeps coming down to, at the end of the day, someone has to take that first step to make something happen. If there is no first step, then we're just having a conversation. We might as well be in the barbershop, because nothing's going to change if we don't take that first step. So let me play that back to you, because I know that you don't drink whiskey. So how does this metaphor fit with how you see life and work and leadership unfolding from a non-whiskey drinker?
Hey, I'm ready for this one. I'm ready for this one. Well, definitely as a trainer, as a speaker, I have three P's for you. I have the three P's for you. All right. For the whiskey, immediately I thought of pleasure. So many times we're so busy in life, we don't ever take time to just have some pleasure, to enjoy life. We're working and working, and definitely, CEOs, they don't know how to turn it off, so I think it's so important, is to just remind people is take time for pleasure, have an outlet, and really enjoy that time. So that's the first thing. Have pleasure in your life. All right. The next one you talked about jazz is I thought of principles.
Mm.
You know, you got to have principles. Like you said, with jazz, how do you get from here to here? And hey, everything doesn't necessarily all come in place, but you got to have some principles that you are working from. You got to have some principles that you are working from. And I think leadership is really being able to be productive. You got to produce results, and you really have to make sure that you're leaving a legacy as well. Definitely as leaders, I always say, you empower people, but you manage systems.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to be productive, and that's how you can be productive. So I think your awesome show, the whiskey, jazz, and leadership is all about it having pleasurable outlets, having some basic principles in your life, and making sure at the end of the day you're producing results.
I love it, man. And one of the things I also love is the fact that we've got so many connections relative to people who we admire. You've mentioned Miles Monroe, Dr. Miles Monroe, 4 times already. And it was all I could do not to give you an amen, because he is on the Mount Rushmore when you start talking about not just leadership, because he shows up with his faith on front page. And so this idea of being a whole person and promoting the whole person, I see that. But then you've got some other folks on your, and I call it your invisible board of directors. Talk a little bit about why you've identified these folks for your invisible board of directors.
Hey, let me tell you my quick story about Miles and the reason why he is on my invisible board of directors. I invited him, Galen, to my city in 2010, and had a leadership conference and invited him, and really didn't know how short he was until he got off his plane. It was coming into the airport, and I just hugged him. And we just had an instant connection, just an instant connection. So he came to the city in 2010, and also he came back in 2012. He invited himself back. And I asked him when he came in 2012, I said, why did you come back? And Galen, this is what he said. He said, Dr. Banks, as you know, I travel everywhere, all over the world, really talking about kingdom leadership. And he said, I know most places that I go, when they want to hear about kingdom and leadership, they know to invite me. But I know when I leave, they kind of go back and doing what they were doing before. But he said, for some reason, there is something different about you. He said, you've been talking about kingdom leadership before I ever met you. Now, when he said this, he said, I truly believe you're going to be talking about kingdom leadership way after I'm gone. Galen, this was 2012. After he shared that with me, he said, Dr. Banks, every November, I have a conference in the Bahamas, a global leadership conference. I would love for you to come. So that was 2012. Really wasn't released to go 2012, really wasn't released to go 2013. But in 2014, I went. I texted him. He gave me his number. So we were texting back and forth. The conference was in Freeport. He was in Nassau. So when I got there that Friday, texted him, let him know, hey, I got here to Freeport. He said, man, I'm so glad you got here. Welcome. And he said, I will see you Sunday. I said, all right. So Text them that Saturday. We touch base. Lo and behold, that Sunday, around 5 o'clock that afternoon, got really dark clouds. I got an email from my assistant here in the US and said, Dr. Banks, Facebook is saying Dr. Miles died in a plane crash. It's like, what do you mean? Died in a plane crash. I just was texting him the day before. I went downstairs. When I went downstairs, Andrew Young was sitting there with his head down. And I knew it was true. I said, oh my God, it was true. He was coming from Nassau to Freeport, and it was so dark, the plane hit a crane, and him, his wife, several other people perished. So Dr. Miles was very much a mentor, a spiritual father for me. And he just really laid some great things in my life. So definitely, he is truly, I would say he's the president of my invisible.
The chair of the board.
He's the chair. He's the chair. Another person is Ann McNeil. Ann McNeil. I told her, I said, Ann, there are some crucial people in my life, and you're one of them. I just appreciate Ann, her heart, her love for people, and her passion. And I must say, my beloved bride. We've been married for 33 years, and my wife saw something in me in college when I was insecure and skinny, didn't know who I am. My wife saw something in me that I didn't see in myself until later. So my wife, I truly believe. Yeah, and then John Maxwell. I think John Maxwell is another part of my invisible board of directors. Just his love. He just doesn't just have leadership skills and principles. He embodies them. And as a leadership person as well, is you can have somebody that just knows about leadership. They've studied the books, they can talk about it. But when somebody embodies it, whole nother level. And I would say that about John Maxwell. He just doesn't know leadership principles. He embodies them.
Definitely. For me, I can appreciate the significance of all the folks that you've got on your board. John Maxwell, I had an opportunity to meet John Maxwell. And by meet, right, it's like we're in line, I shake his hand, I say one thing, and but I met John Maxwell.
I hear you. I took a picture with him.
Yeah, I took a picture with him, shook his hand, and I asked him one question. I don't even remember the question that I asked, but definitely it's kind of hard to call yourself a leadership dude without acknowledging the space that he has reserved for himself in the minds of so many leaders who are doing this for real. Dr. Miles Monroe, the same for me. It's like you can tell, and I talk about this a little bit in the book that I wrote in 2017, where the first time you meet someone, especially someone who is supposed to be in a space of leadership, I find myself watching their eyes, because I'm trying to sense, do they really believe what they're talking about? Right? And Dr. Miles Monroe passes the test every time I hear him speak, where although I might not understand what he's talking about, he understands what he's talking about. And therefore, I'm on the journey with him, right? I'm willing to go on the journey with him because of his conviction. Ann McNeil, again, we've had her. Please go back and check out season 2. She's been on the show, and she's the only person on the planet that can get yours truly to wake up at 5:30 every Saturday morning to do a show with her. And I talked about Miss Ann with one of my clients just this past week, because I was trying to drive home the point that, and you said something similar just a second ago, and the point was that you manage projects, you lead people. And that leading people is an individual. It's an individual activity. And one of the things that always amazes me about Miss Ann McNeil is that I consider her my personal mentor. And the first time I attended the annual meeting, and there must have been, I don't know, 100 people in the room, everyone got up and was telling personal stories about how she was their individual mentor. And I finally had to say, hey, wait a second. She's mine, right? Back off. But somehow she has this ability to connect with people individually and cause them to see more in themselves because of something that she sees in them. And that's something that I would love for, first of all, I would love to be able to represent that to my clients and people in my circles, but I really would love for my clients to represent that for the folks who follow them, because there's something magical there.
It is so right. You're so right. I've had some one-on-one encounters with Ann over the phone and in person, and all the people she knows, Galen. But it was like when she was in the presence with me, it was like I was the only one in the world. I was the only one. She talked to me. And hey, that is something that I will truly learn from and really want to emulate in my own life.
Absolutely. Hey, man, I want to talk about, again, you talked about some of the countries that you've done work in. And I want you to talk about how universal are these leadership challenges that your clients are facing? Because very often we think, oh my gosh, there's no way you could possibly understand what I'm going through. There's no way that you can you might be able to understand some of it, but there's no way that you can understand all of it. And I just really would like to get a sense from you, how universal are leadership challenges, or are they really so unique and so specific that the only way to get through it is to go through it?
Yeah, man, as you were talking, my mind immediately went to Pakistan. I did a leadership training in Pakistan, and two things that really came out of that. I was working with the host guy that I was working with. He's a pastor, Pastor Wasim, and man, he was just eating up these leadership principles and just really wanting to walk them out. He is so excited about understanding leadership and really wanting to believe in the people and do this. And Galen, I had a meeting one day and he had a bandage on his head. I said, well, see, what happened? What happened? And he said, well, I was out spending some time with some people in the community, helping them understand about leadership, basically taking what you are teaching. I'm trying to walk those things out. And somebody came up behind me with a brick and hit me on my head. This is the price that he has to pay walking out leadership principles. And another situation, another person that I'm working with, and he wanted to do a marriage seminar. He wanted to do a marriage seminar. And I said, all right, great. Got my bride. So we did a virtual marriage seminar. All right, Galen, this totally shocked me. All right. So we're on Zoom. I got there waiting for him to click on. All right. When he clicked on, when the cameras came on and screen came on, all of the men were sitting in chairs in the front of the building. Their wives were sitting in the back of the room on the floor. And I'm realizing, wow, you just sadly, sometimes you just take things for granted, or you just think, oh, everybody think like I do. And I think those were really eye-opening things that I saw. Spending time in Trinidad, working with leaders there. And one thing that I'm seeing is, sadly, we lead out of culture instead of out of principles.
Ooh, back up. Say that one more time. Say that again.
From what I have seen working with people in other countries, they lead through the lens of their culture instead of really stepping back and understanding some basic principles about And I think that's why I love what I do, because my whole goal is, guys, if you really want to understand leadership, it can't always go through the lens of culture, because in definitely Pakistan, culturally, women are looked at as, nothing. And I was like, men, hey, if you want to be a great husband, and then to add on to this story, after I did that marriage seminar, after that we debriefed, and I said, all right, from now on, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. If I need to give some extra money for all the women to get some chairs, I'll send you some extra money. But I said, next time we have one, I need 2 chairs, husband and wife. And we just had one end of last year. And Galen, you talk about dignity. The wives were sitting in the chair beside their husband in all of their beautiful, their beautiful outfits and garments. And they had a sense of pride about them. And the man was sitting there, he was a little nervous, because this is not culturally how they're supposed to be sitting. They realized, man, you need to relax and realize this is where she needs to be. She needs to be beside you. She don't need to be behind you. She needs to be beside you. And to see some of the men, some of them, it's about 30. You can see some of the men kind of relax to realize, okay, this is different. No, this is different. But just to see her smile, just to see her at ease, wow. So that's why I love what I do, because I want, and when I did training in Africa, same thing. Same thing is this, they had that this culture has such a propensity to make them think everything has to go through culture. I got to talk through culture. I got to lead through culture. They're like, guys, hey, some of it you're going to have to adjust, because some of it is not working with you and it's not working for you.
Man, just so much good stuff there. But man, I got to bring you into the VIP room because, I got VIPs. They're hitting my phone. They're texting me saying, "Okay, yeah, that's enough of the free stuff. We got you. We need you over here. So if you got a few more minutes, man, I got to bring you to the VIP room." But hey, before we end this conversation on this side of the velvet rope, what's a final thought that you'd like to share with folks who are just really enjoying this conversation between two colleagues who have admired each other for a while? And then how can people get a hold of you if they want to get more of this direct, upfront, and personal?
Excellent. Very good. Again, Galen, thank you so much for this opportunity. I would say, all the listeners, I always want to take you back to those 3 Ps. Live your life by those 3 things. All right. Always make sure you set time for pleasure. Don't try to find it. Don't try to wish for it. You set it. Set time for pleasure. Have some pleasurable outlets in your life. Make it a priority, not when you have time, make it a priority. And then making sure you have some principles in your life. And then making sure your ultimate goal is you are producing to leave an impact.
You see why I love this dude? I am so, first of all, we had to have this conversation because I'm low key kind of scared of Misty Campbell. And when she says something needs to happen, you usually you be best off if you just made that happen. But she was absolutely right. I'm so glad that we've finally had this conversation. And raise your Moscato. I'm gonna raise this Chattanooga Choo Choo, which is really really good. I haven't had this in a while. This is really really good, and I need to put this back in rotation. But I just want to toast to you, Dr. Banks, because I really appreciate what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because as Ms. Ann has often said, there are some people who will only hear your voice. They won't hear my voice. You and I could be saying the exact same thing, but they won't hear my voice. They will only hear your voice. And there are some people who will only hear my voice. I could be reading from your book, but they will only hear it coming from me. So I need you to be as amazing as you are. And actually, truth be told, Dr. Banks, I need you to get even better. Because when you get better than what you are right now, you're going to challenge me to get better. And I think the world is counting on us in order to bring them to where they really need to be, which is on the other side of fear. So, dude, raise your glass. And man, we need to continue this in the VIP room. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Hey, it's not too late. Hit that subscribe button so you're sure to catch the next episode. If you're really enjoying the vibe, leave us a review or become a VIP for guest and show exclusives. Cheers.